Hey there, y'all. Welcome back to another video. I've been looking forward to doing this one all week. I made this last week, actually on Saturday night for a fellowship meal, which we had on Sunday. It was a hit. I had never made this before, but I had always wanted to. So I decided, since I knew it worked well, I was going to make this into a video and share it with all of you because it is well worth it. All right, so Coca-Cola cake. Good old-fashioned Southern Coca-Cola cake. Okay, I have to just say, North Carolina is the birthplace of Pepsi Cola. But nevertheless, Coca-Cola cake is what I've heard of. That's what has been a thing. You could probably make this with Pepsi. That's fine. I have to say, I like this with Coca-Cola. So we're going to do it with Coca-Cola. So this is how we make the recipe. There's going to be a cooked component to the batter, and then there's going to be the dry ingredients and the other cold ingredients that we're going to add to the batter. After we bake the cake, then we're going to make a cooked frosting. So stick with me and we'll get right to it. Alrighty. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and put the dry ingredients in a bowl. I'm going to get these ready, and then I'm going to move the camera over so you can see what's happening in the pot over there. So we're going to have 2 cups of flour. I've already measured them out. Seems like it goes better when I measure things out first, y'all. I've done that on the last couple of videos. And I guess that's why they do it like that on the pro cooking shows and things. Anyway, okay. So we've got 2 cups of flour. We've got 2 cups of sugar. And we've got a teaspoon of baking soda. And I'm just going to get that mixed up real quick. And I'm going to set it aside. All right. Let me move that vanilla out of the way. I'm going to move these things over a little bit. I want you to be able to see what it looks like when you put Coca-Cola and butter in a pot, because it's not every day that you see that. So I never had seen Coca-Cola and butter in a pot until I made this myself. So this recipe calls for a cup of butter and a cup of Coca-Cola. So there's half of a cup of butter. And here's another half a cup, so it's a full cup of butter. Here we go. We've got Coca-Cola right there. So I'm going to open this, get this on audio. Let's see. There you go. There's that nice sound that it makes when you pop open a can of soda. So we're going to do a cup of Coca-Cola. And I don't get to drink the rest of this, y'all, because the rest of this is going to be used, part of the rest of this is going to be used for making the icing. So now I'm just going to melt this butter in this Coca-Cola. And once it's all melted, I'll be adding it to the flour mixture. Let me bring you a little closer. See, it looks kind of weird, doesn't it? That looks kind of weird. Let me look at, see. It's like it'll start to melt a little, and then the cold Coca-Cola will make it clump together. But we're going to keep this on the burner until this gets melted and until it starts to kind of come to a little bit of a boil, because then I've got to add some marshmallows to it. Because yes, this cake also has marshmallows. I tried to do some research about Coca-Cola cake as far as where the history of it is, where it comes from, and that sort of thing. And people don't exactly know. I've read that some people say that Coca-Cola came out with the recipe as a solution to rationings of sugar during, I think it was the World War II era or something. So sugar was being rationed, and it was in limited supply, but Coca-Cola and the other, I guess, soft drink makers didn't have to worry about those sugar rationing amounts, and so they were able to have more sugar, real sugar. That was back in the days before everything was high fructose corn syrup. And so it was just a way to make a cake without having to have so much sugar. But you know what, y'all, that story doesn't make any sense because this cake has a lot of sugar. A whole lot of sugar in it. I mean, the cake itself has 2 cups of sugar, and then the frosting has 3 cups of powdered sugar. So how is that going? You know, the amount of Coke you put in here is definitely not going to make up for all the sugar that you're putting in the recipe. So look at that, y'all. You see how that looks with that Coca-Cola just melting with that butter, or that butter melting in that Coca-Cola. See, it's fizzing. It's kind of weird. I also need to add 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. So now that the butter looks like it's pretty much melted, I'm going to add that and stir that in. Well, the butter's not totally melted. It's pretty close though. While this is continuing to cook, because this seems to be doing fine now, it's not quite to a boil yet, I'm going to go ahead and add the other liquid ingredients to the flour and sugar mixture and just let this continue to cook because it still needs to come to a boil, and we're going to try to be efficient here. My flour and sugar mixture, I'm going to be adding a 1/2 cup of buttermilk. You can see it's just regular buttermilk. So there we go. There's a 1/2 cup of buttermilk. And by the way, y'all, I mentioned a hack in my video about how to make buttermilk biscuits, in which I tell you how you can make more buttermilk if you're out of buttermilk, like legit buttermilk. But of course, you need real buttermilk to do this with. This is not one of those things where you're going to make it out of nothing. But if you're running low on buttermilk, if you have your buttermilk container or your buttermilk carton and it's starting to run very low, and this is important, it needs to be cultured. It doesn't matter if it's fat-free or whole buttermilk. That's not the important thing. The important thing is it's cultured buttermilk. You can refill the bottle or put it in a jar if you have just a little bit in the bottom, and then set that on top of your refrigerator, say for anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. And what'll happen is what's cultured in the bottom in the buttermilk will culture through the rest of your milk, and so you'll replenish your buttermilk supply. It's a great trick. Okay, that's coming along just fine. And get this kind of stirred in. I'm going to go ahead and crack in 2 eggs. All right, that's mixed up pretty well. So now I just need to wait for this mixture over here in the pot, which, let me see, I don't even think you can see it now. Let's see. Just need to wait for that mixture in the pot to come to a boil, and then I'll be adding the marshmallows, and I'll take it off the heat and add it to my mixture there. Okay, it's starting to come to a boil. And I don't need to let it really boil for long. Main thing is I just needed to get it to this nice hot temperature. So I'm actually going to take this off of the heat. And I'll bring you with me. I'm going to add about 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm going to stir in 1.5 cups of marshmallows. I get this all mixed in really good. And once those marshmallows are melted, then I'll be moving this over into the batter. Y'all, I don't know exactly what the marshmallows do in this cake, but it sure does make it good. I've never made a cake before that you put marshmallows in the cake, but this must do something. Okay, I think that's probably good enough. Yeah. All right, so now I'm going to add this and start kind of mixing it in like this. And you want to add it a little bit at a time. You don't want to add it all at once, because that gives you a better chance to sort of get it all mixed. The last of it. We need all that chocolatey Coca-Cola goodness and get it all mixed in there. And I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. Well, to be truthful, it's a little over 350 degrees because my oven is unreliable, but it's close to 350. So anyway, I'm going to be baking this for about 30 to 35 minutes. Probably closer to 35 minutes. The main thing is I'm just going to be baking it until a toothpick inserted in the cake comes out clean. You know how that works if you've ever made a cake before. So let me get my pan and I'll transfer this into the pan and we'll get it in the oven. All right, so I've got my pan. I've just greased it with some Pam spray. And now I'm just going to pour this batter right in here. I love a sheet cake, y'all, because it's so easy. You don't have to worry about all the layers. And you don't even have to take this one out of the pan. When you ice it, you just leave it right in there and ice it right in the pan after it's cooking. You ice it when it's still warm, as a matter of fact, which is really great. Alrighty. I'm going to take this and pop this in the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes, and then I'll bring you back. Alrighty, it looks like that cake is ready. You take it out of the oven. Just checked it with the toothpick, and the toothpick came out clean. So there is the cake. Now it's time to make the frosting. I'm going to get my pot ready. Let me go ahead and get this set up over here so you can see how I make this. All right, let's see. So the frosting is going to get a half a cup of butter, which is a stick of butter. I'm telling y'all, this cake has a ton of butter and a ton of sugar. A low-calorie cake, this is not. So you know it's going to be really good. It's going to taste delicious. Y'all, it's a wonder I'm not 800 pounds. I've probably said this before, but there's this saying here in the South, and I don't know where else they say it, if they say it anywhere, but it's never trust a skinny cook. Because honestly, if you know how to cook, you're probably going to be a little bit chunky anyway. So this is going to get a half a cup of butter, It's going to get 1/4 of a cup of Coca-Cola. So I'm back to that Coca-Cola that I had earlier. I have that same can, and I'm just going to go ahead and add a 1/4 of a cup. So that means there will be 2 ounces left in this can that I can just drink. I'm also going to need to add 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. What'd I do with my tablespoon? Oh, here it is. Okay, there's 1. 2. And 3. And of course, that was just good old Hershey's cocoa powder. And that's starting to melt. Let's see. I gotta go ahead and measure out the sugar. It's going to get 3 cups of powdered sugar. And it's supposed to be sifted, so let me get this little thing. This is a 1/2 cup. I need to turn this down because it doesn't need to go so fast. Y'all, I don't always sift my sugar, but I'm trying to show y'all the right way to do this. It is supposed to be sifted. I had a sifter, like a regular flour sifter, that I had bought from, I don't know, Walmart or someplace. But I had to throw it out because it just got rusted so quick. I wish I had an old school, just American sifter, but it seems like all the sifters these days, they're all made in China. They're just cheap. They don't work very good. They get rusted in no time. You can buy an American sifter, but there's a website that has American-made sifters, but they're like $180. Who has $180 for a sifter? Well, I'm sure some people do, but I'm not one of them. So all right, here's the point where I'm just going to knock that in there. I got to stir this a little bit. And are y'all going to tell on me if I don't sift the rest of the sugar, because I need to just go on and get it into the pot. So this is another 1/3 cup. So I need, actually, it was a 1/3 cup, so I need to get another one of these. And then I'm going to have a bag that I can get the rest. This is 2 cups. I'm going to get that stirred in. I don't think it makes a bit of difference if this is not sifted. I mean, honestly, it's just all going to melt and it's going to be fine. So there's a 1/3, a 1/3, and a 1/3. And I'm going to clean up this powdered sugar mess I've got over here, y'all. I do not like to have a mess around my stove. All right. If only you could smell this, because it smells like chocolate and it smells a little bit like Coca-Cola, and it really smells like you just want to lick the spoon. I'm just not even going to lie. I need to let this come to a boil, because when it comes to a boil, I'll be able to get everything melted in there really, really good, and then I'll be pouring it on the cake. I see it's trying to get some of those little bubbles, just a little bit. I mean, honestly, y'all, do you think it makes a whole lot of a difference that I didn't sift that sugar? Because that looks perfectly fine to me. All right. I'd say that boil is a good enough boil. So I'm going to move this off of the burner. Let me turn that burner off. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Stir that in. And remember, y'all, the cake is warm because I just took the cake out of the oven. So I'm going to turn you this way so you can see what I'm going to do. Is I'm just going to poke some holes all over this cake, because I want the icing to go down into the cake. It's going to make it really good. And I'm just going to pour this icing slowly over the whole cake. So there you have a beautiful Coca-Cola cake. But it's not ready to eat. Even it's warm. It's beautiful, it's iced, but we gotta let this cool. We gotta let this come all the way down to room temperature before we serve it. Some people might have it warm with some vanilla ice cream, but I still like to get it like totally set first before I cut it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So guess what? It's nighttime. I'm gonna let this set overnight and just come down to room temperature. And then I will bring you back tomorrow when I cut a piece and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, y'all. So it's the next day, and I have to admit, my son and I got into this cake last night. It was still warm, but he wanted some with some ice cream, and once I cut it for him, I couldn't resist, so I had to have a piece. But I'm showing you this morning how it looks once it's set overnight. You see it has the icing just sort of firms up on top. That little dip right there is from where I had poked holes all over the cake and the icing went down into the cake, but I'm going to give it a taste. I can already tell you it's good, but I'm just going to give you a taste and see. That is a delicious cake. It is moist. It is chocolatey. It has just that little hint of Coca-Cola flavor. It's not, if you've never had a Coca-Cola cake, this is not a weird thing that's going to taste like a soft drink cake. Like it's not. It's really a chocolate cake with a chocolate icing that has just a little unique hint of flavor to it. It's really good. I can't recommend this highly enough. It's so good, y'all. I'm just going to have another piece right now. So I hope you make this cake, and I hope you let me know what you think in the comments below, because this is just so good. I'm just going to have another piece right now. Yep, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.